People don't clap at a foundation. They clap at the house when it's built. Have you ever felt like you're putting in all this work and the only thing that's growing is your doubt? And just because you're the first in your circle or your family to move differently doesn't mean you're wrong. Just because it's unfamiliar to them doesn't mean it's unwise. Everybody loves a good success story, but this is about the pre-success season, the building, the belief. And if you're in a season right now that is like this, then this episode is going to remind you why it's not just worth it, but it is necessary to go through this. Welcome to the Upgrade with Elle. Have you ever had a vision so clear, so real, that you were even scared to say it out loud? You're low-key afraid of sounding completely delusional or crazy because it doesn't exist yet, but you know in your heart that it's coming. And then you finally muster up the courage to share it, and people either ignore it, kind of laugh it off, smile politely, or even try and talk you completely out of it. If this has ever been your experience, then this one's for you. I'm Lauren Hayes, your host, and today we are going to talk about what it really feels like when you are the only one who sees the vision, the only one who believes in the blueprint, the only one still showing up when the dream looks invisible to everyone on the outside, but you know in your heart that it's real. Because everybody loves a good success story. Everyone does. Everyone loves a good underdog story, honestly. But this is about the pre-success season, the building, the belief, the courage that it takes to be early. And if you're in a season right now that is like this, then this episode is going to remind you why it's not just worth it, but it is necessary to go through this. Let's get into it. Let's get one thing straight, okay? You weren't given a vision first because it wasn't going to work out. You were given the vision because you were chosen to carry it. It doesn't mean that the process is going to be easy, but it makes it yours and yours uniquely. So what no one tells you about being a visionary is that it can be very challenging in moments when you have the idea and you're trying to get other people to believe in something that they have not seen come to life yet. You're building something that hasn't been done in your way, with your voice, on your timeline. And people might not say it to your face, but behind the scenes, they're kind of wondering, like, who does she think she is? Or who do they think they are? Why would they opt to leave something stable to start something risky? What exactly is going on here? And the subtext is always doubt. But what they're really revealing is their own limits, not yours. You're not behind. You're just ahead of people who haven't caught the vision yet. And that's okay. That's actually not rejection. It's truly just confirmation. You don't need everyone to get it right now. Even though that might be your desire, it's not necessary because clarity isn't always collective. Sometimes clarity is deeply personal. And you've got to protect it. You just have to, even when you feel unsure. Even when you're the only one in the group chat sending updates that they may not react or respond to, even when your audience is still kind of small, even when your family might not understand your moves. This is a very challenging space to be in, and it's honestly where most people say, you know what, it's not worth it. But it's not because these people are not talented, it's because they get tired of not being seen. And here's what I know about this space, because I've been in it more than once. Being overlooked does not mean you're off track. Sometimes it just means that you're early. You're early to the game. You're early to the vision. And early is a position of power. And if you can hold it long enough to see it bloom, it's worth it. And, here's the part that not really many people are going to warn you about. The right path can still feel eerily quiet. You think if you're doing it right, it's supposed to feel different, that the signs should be loud and obvious, but sometimes, and a lot of times, it's crickets. And let me just keep it real. There are days that I show up, I record these episodes, I post content, I send emails, I respond to DMs, and it feels like I'm speaking into a void. And it's not because the work isn't impactful and meaningful. It's because the feedback loop in this season is not always immediate. And if you're not careful, you'll start questioning yourself. Is what I'm doing working? Why isn't this growing faster? Am I being delusional or faithful? But what I've learned is silence doesn't mean stop. Silence is your invitation to trust. Trust your instincts, trust your preparation, trust your vision, trust the seeds that you have planted, trust what God has told you, and trust that just because something isn't blooming yet doesn't mean it's not growing underground. I want you to think about this. People don't clap at a foundation. They clap at the house when it's built. But you know how long it took to lay that concrete and build that foundation? How many nights you might have sat up planning, prepping, preparing? How many no's you turned into fuel? How many hours you spent learning, creating, praying, iterating, pivoting? You're not just showing up for your dream. You're showing up for yourself in the process. You're building your next level of discipline, of identity, of alignment. And if nobody tells you this, let me be the one to say it. The silence of these seasons is sacred, and it's where the real ones are made. Let me ask you an honest question. Have you ever felt like you're putting in all this work and the only thing that's growing is your doubt? This is what I call the limbo season. You're not where you were, but you're not where you want to be either. And that space, that in between, that's where most people fold, okay? But here's what I've learned. There's a difference between being stuck and being still. Every single delay is not a detour. There have been days, even recently, where I have had to talk myself into posting. Can you believe that? It's true. I've had to talk myself into recording, into promoting my digital products, into promoting my coaching. Even if the sales didn't match the effort, I've had to talk myself into pitching when the inbox felt dry, because consistency without results, that will mess with your head. But guess what? I still showed up in those moments. Because when you have a vision, you do not stop based on how you feel in a certain moment. You move based on what you know and what you know in your heart. I know this platform is meant for more. I know my voice isn't accidental. My experiences didn't go in vain. And I know that when breakthrough comes, it won't always come with applause. Sometimes it comes with alignment. So I keep going, not for attention, but for the assignment, okay? And you have to remember that. Obedience doesn't always come with evidence, but it always builds character. That's what you're doing. Every time you push forward and push past that doubt and you record or you post or you share or you build without guarantees, you're becoming the version of you who doesn't need external validation to keep choosing themselves. And that version of you, they're unshakable. All right, let's talk about people's opinions. We're not going to spend too much time here, but I think it's important to acknowledge some things, because the moment you start dreaming bigger, creating more, or doing something different, here come the projections. And that's truly what they are. People will make their fear, their insecurities, your problem. Here's what you'll hear. Well, what if it doesn't work out? Are you sure right now is the right time to do this? Why don't you just wait until things calm down? There's got to be an easier moment in life to do this thing. And I get it. Most of those things and comments come from a place of love, or at least what they think is love. But what they're really saying is, and hear me, I wouldn't have the courage to do what you're doing. That's what that is, and that's okay. Their fear isn't your enemy, but it's not your advisor either. And let me say this very clearly. You're not obligated to shrink your dream to make others comfortable with your calling. Just because they didn't do it doesn't mean you shouldn't. Just because it's unfamiliar to them doesn't mean it's unwise. And just because you're the first in your circle or your family to move differently doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're a trailblazer. Listen, I've had people in my life, friends or family, go silent on me after I started talking about something bigger. People who didn't really ask me about the podcast until they saw other people talking about it. Even people who have wanted to spend time with me in my life, new people, couldn't necessarily handle the fact that I wasn't going to shrink my vision just to be more available to them. But here's the thing. I'm not building this for comfort. I'm building it for impact. And impact doesn't happen in your comfort zone. So if their fear gets loud, guess what? You get louder, not in volume, but in conviction. This is your life. This is your window, and your destiny cannot be negotiated with someone else's insecurity. I'm sharing this with you because I want you to appreciate that I understand what you might be going through in this moment. And let's be honest, there are moments when you're going to want to start to back up or just tap out completely. You'll start wondering if maybe you misunderstood the assignment. You'll tell yourself, maybe I'm not really cut out for this. Maybe I should pivot. Maybe I should have just stayed where I was comfortable. You could have done that. Those thoughts don't mean you're unqualified, okay? We've all been there. We've all thought these things. Sometimes the most dangerous part of a journey isn't the failure, it's the fatigue, because you can get exhausted from this. You're not broken, you're just tired. And tired doesn't mean done, okay? It just means you need to reset, not retreat. So what do you do when you really feel like giving up? We need to talk about that. You remind yourself of why you started. You go back to that very first spark, that journal entry, that dream, that vision, that voice that said, this matters. That moment you felt chills thinking about the impact you could make, the lives you could change with whatever it is you're doing. You reconnect with the vision that you had and the version of you that said, even if no one claps, I'm doing it anyway. And then you take one step, not 10. Okay, you don't take a huge leap, just one. You post the thing, you send the email, you write the outline, you record the episode. You stay in motion, even if it's slow. Because if there's one thing I've learned on these journeys of going after visions is that the dream doesn't die just because you get discouraged. It dies when you decide to stay discouraged. So what you feel is fine, but don't park there. Don't live there. This vision deserves a finish line, and you deserve to see it. Let's just wrap this entire moment in truth. Okay, you're not crazy. You'll hear me say that all the time because I feel like I need to remind people. Our self-talk tracks can be so derailing. You're not overreaching. You're not asking for too much. You're just early. And early often looks like delusion to people who lack vision. They won't see the value until they see results. But you have to value it before the results ever show up. That's the difference. You've been given an idea, a calling, a knowing, whatever it is, and it's going to stretch you. It's going to cost you time, effort, energy, identity shifts, but it's also going to give you in return. So don't underestimate how powerful that is. You're becoming someone that you haven't even met yet. And every version of you that's being peeled away right now, it's making room for someone who's already equipped to walk into the blessing that you're building. So yes, keep showing up, even if the room is empty. Keep refining your craft, even if the views are low. Keep believing before you have the proof, because the proof is going to come. But what's even better than the proof is the peace in knowing that you never gave up on something God gave only to you. I want to leave you with two things, okay? The biggest risk is not failing. It's staying the same. And you can't control the past, but you can decide on the future. So upgrade accordingly. I just want to mention this as well. If these episodes are helping you to move through any seasons of hard, they're giving you new insight, they are a source of encouragement or inspiration for you, let me know. I honestly love to hear your words, and it would mean so much for you to leave a review. So if you wouldn't mind taking 30 seconds to go to Apple Podcasts and write us a review and give us a star rating, I would really appreciate it.